Behind the glass walls of a sleek office overlooking the glittering skyline of New York City, everything seemed perfect. But beneath the polished surface lay tangled emotions and dangerous secrets. CEO Ashley was known for her sharp mind and fierce leadership, commanding respect at the helm of a top tech company. Yet, hidden within the corridors of power was a secret love triangle, threatening to unravel everything. Ashley's closest advisor, Kevin, and a charismatic new executive, Daniel, found themselves caught between ambition and desire, pushing boundaries that no boardroom should ever see. One night, Ashley disappeared without warning. Panic spread through the office like wildfire, as alarms blared and whispers filled the halls. The company was reeling from the sudden loss of its leader, and the truth began to surface, revealing dark betrayals and twisted alliances. The morning after Ashley's disappearance, the office was in chaos. News outlets buzzed with speculation, investors demanded answers, and the board scrambled to maintain control. Kevin paced nervously in his corner office, the weight of guilt heavy on his shoulders. He had been Ashley's closest confidant, her right hand for years, but secrets between them had begun to unravel. And Daniel, new, ambitious, and magnetic, had quickly become more than just a colleague. The tension between the two men simmered beneath the surface, threatening to explode. As whispers of a secret affair circulated, loyalties fractured. Some believed Kevin was protecting Ashley. Others suspected Daniel had a darker role in her disappearance. Meanwhile, Daniel sat alone in the dim light of the executive lounge, staring at his phone. His mind raced with possibilities. Had Ashley left willingly, or was she taken? Was this a calculated move in their ruthless game of corporate power? His ambition pushed him forward, but so did a growing sense of guilt and fear. He had crossed lines he couldn't take back, and now the consequences were spiraling out of control. The company's future hung by a thread, and Daniel knew the next steps would decide everything: his career, his freedom, and possibly the truth behind Ashley's vanishing. Detective Laura Mitchell arrived at the company headquarters that afternoon. Tasked with investigating the mysterious disappearance, she immediately sensed that this case was more than a simple missing person report. Interviewing employees and reviewing security footage, Laura uncovered conflicting stories and hidden tensions. The love triangle wasn't just office gossip, it was a powder keg ready to explode. As the investigation deepened, alliances shifted, and secrets long buried began to surface. Laura realized that finding Ashley meant navigating a web of deceit, ambition, and dangerous desires. The boardroom was a pressure cooker of anxiety and suspicion. Investors, once eager and trusting, now looked on with wary eyes, their confidence shaken by Ashley's sudden disappearance. The polished mahogany table bore silent witness to the storm brewing within the company's walls. Kevin stood near the window, staring out at the city skyline bathed in twilight, his mind a tempest of regret and doubt. For years, he had been Ashley's unwavering ally, her shadow in the boardroom and beyond. But beneath the veneer of loyalty, cracks had formed, moments stolen in secrecy, words left unspoken, and a growing chasm of distrust. Across the room, Daniel's restless pacing betrayed the turbulence roiling inside him. His charm and ambition had propelled him swiftly up the corporate ladder, but the weight of secrets and unspoken desires now threatened to crush him. The triangle of power and passion was unraveling, exposing raw nerves and fractured alliances. Rumors and whispered accusations swirled like a storm, dividing the executive team and fracturing the company's foundation. Trust was a fragile commodity, and in this volatile environment, it was rapidly depleting. The fate of the corporation and the lives entwined within it hung in the balance. In the solitude of her downtown apartment, Ashley wrestled with the ghosts of betrayal and the cold grip of fear. The walls that once symbolized her fortress now felt like a cage closing in. Her disappearance was not an act of surrender, but a calculated gambit, a desperate attempt to reclaim control from those who sought to manipulate and destroy her. She clung to her phone, the lifeline to an old friend and confidant who offered a glimpse of normalcy amid the chaos. Their conversations were a refuge, filled with unvarnished truths and shared hopes for redemption. In the quiet hours of the night, Ashley found strength in these moments of connection, fueling her resolve to fight back. Meanwhile, Detective Laura Mitchell navigated a maze of deception and half-truths. The deeper she delved, the more she uncovered layers of conspiracy woven tightly around Ashley's disappearance. Every interview peeled back a layer of facade, revealing simmering resentments and dangerous games of power. Time was slipping away, and the stakes were rising. Laura knew that finding Ashley was not just about solving a mystery. It was about stopping a web of corruption that threatened to consume them all. The media frenzy surrounding Ashley's disappearance cast a long shadow over the company. News outlets pounced on every morsel of information, painting a picture of scandal and intrigue that captivated the public. Stock prices fluctuated wildly as investors reacted to the unfolding drama. Kevin and Daniel found themselves under intense scrutiny, their every move dissected and analyzed. Both men struggled to maintain their composure while navigating a labyrinth of lies, half-truths, and hidden agendas. The once tightly knit executive team now resembled a battlefield where trust was scarce and betrayal lurked at every corner. Detective Mitchell's investigation unearthed a tangled web of deceit. Employees contradicted themselves. Alibis crumbled under pressure. Secrets that had lain dormant for years threatened to explode into the open. The love triangle was more than personal. It was the epicenter of a much larger, darker power struggle. Alliances shifted like sand, and the true motives of those involved began to surface. The hunt for Ashley evolved into a race against time to expose the corruption and save the company from ruin. As the investigation deepened, the pristine veneer of the company's leadership began to crack, revealing fractures that ran far deeper than anyone anticipated. The once carefully guarded secrets now spilled out into the glaring spotlight of public scrutiny. The media frenzy was relentless, transforming whispered rumors into sensational headlines that dominated the news cycle. Daniel found himself in the eye of the storm, his personal life dissected by journalists and board members alike. Past relationships, hidden alliances, and secret meetings were laid bare, painting a complex portrait of ambition intertwined with desire. Every gesture, every word, was analyzed and twisted into evidence of guilt or innocence. Meanwhile, Kevin was battling his own demons. Once the trusted confidant of Ashley, he now faced a barrage of accusations that threatened to unravel not just his career, but his sense of self. Friends became strangers, allies turned adversaries, and the thin line between truth and deception blurred into obscurity. Ashley's disappearance had morphed into a multifaceted crisis, a brutal power struggle where trust was currency and betrayal was the ultimate weapon. In the corridors of power, alliances shifted like quicksand, and every decision carried the weight of survival. The corporate battlefield was no longer just about profits or strategy. It was a fight for control over lives, reputations, and the soul of the company itself. Detective Laura Mitchell plunged headfirst into the labyrinthine web of lies and half-truths, determined to unravel a conspiracy far more sinister than a simple missing person case. Every interview peeled back layers of deception, revealing a tangled network of corporate espionage, personal vendettas, and forbidden liaisons. She discovered that Ashley's disappearance was only the tip of the iceberg. Insider betrayals ran deep, with trusted employees double-crossing each other and shadowy figures manipulating the boardroom from behind the scenes. The investigation was not just a search for a missing CEO. It was a quest to expose a culture of corruption that threatened to engulf the entire corporation. As the pressure mounted, those involved were forced into desperate acts. Friendships fractured, loyalties shifted, and new alliances were forged in the crucible of suspicion and fear. Laura's relentless pursuit of the truth put her squarely in the crosshairs of powerful players who wielded influence and intimidation as their weapons. Each step forward was a battle against not only the elusive truth, but also the dangerous forces determined to keep it buried. The stakes had never been higher, and failure was not an option. The storm that had been brewing for months finally reached its peak. The company's glass towers, once shining symbols of ambition and success, now reflected the chaos raging inside. The fragile peace shattered as a dam of secrets burst open, flooding every corner of the corporation with revelations that left no one unscathed. Critical evidence, long hidden in encrypted files and whispered conversations, surfaced unexpectedly. It implicated not only peripheral players, but key figures in the executive suite, trusted advisors, board members, and even some of Ashley's closest confidants. The depth of the betrayal was staggering, painting a picture of a company riddled with deceit, manipulation, and raw ambition. The boardroom became a battlefield of resignations and accusations. Heated arguments erupted as executives pointed fingers, some desperately trying to distance themselves from the scandal, others determined to expose the full truth. Legal teams mobilized, lawsuits flew like arrows, and the media descended like vultures, feasting on every sensational detail. At the heart of the turmoil stood Kevin and Daniel, once uneasy allies, now locked in a confrontation that exposed years of hidden grudges, secret meetings, and unspoken betrayals. Their fractured relationship became a microcosm of the wider corporate collapse, each man fighting not only for his reputation, but for survival in a game where trust was a rare commodity. Meanwhile, the search for Ashley intensified. New leads pushed investigators into dark corridors of power and greed, revealing that her disappearance was part of a larger, more sinister plot. The stakes were higher than ever, with lives and legacies hanging in the balance. As the dust began to settle, the company was forever changed. The empire built on ambition and secrecy now faced the daunting task of rebuilding from the ashes. Yet amidst the wreckage, a glimmer of hope remained, a chance for truth to heal old wounds and for justice to pave a new path forward. The fallout from the scandal continued to reverberate through the corridors of power. Michael, a seasoned board member, found himself grappling with the moral complexities of loyalty and justice. The once unified leadership had splintered into factions, each driven by fear, ambition, or the desperate hope to salvage what remained. In hushed conversations behind closed doors, alliances shifted like quicksand. Long-standing friendships were tested as secrets emerged, threatening to undo decades of trust. Michael faced impossible decisions, whether to shield those he once considered allies or to stand for transparency and accountability. Meanwhile, the company's employees watched from the sidelines, their futures uncertain. The culture of secrecy and betrayal had left deep scars, challenging their faith in leadership and the very foundation of the company. Amidst the turmoil, some found strength in solidarity, while others chose silence, fearful of becoming collateral damage. Amidst the chaos, a surprising figure emerged: Elena, Ashley's childhood friend and former mentor. Quiet and unassuming, Elena had long distanced herself from the corporate world, but the crisis pulled her back into the fray. With a calm resolve and sharp intellect, Elena began to piece together the fragmented narrative, uncovering truths that others had missed or ignored. Her insight into Ashley's character and history provided a fresh perspective, bridging gaps in the investigation. Elena's presence brought a new energy to the company's struggle for redemption. She advocated for healing and reform, emphasizing the need to rebuild not just profits, but trust and integrity. Her journey was a testament to the power of loyalty and the possibility of renewal, even in the darkest times. The final act unfolded with the intensity of a high-stakes drama. Board meetings became arenas of confrontation, where past grievances clashed with urgent demands for change. Legal battles raged on multiple fronts, dragging executives and the company itself into the unforgiving glare of public scrutiny. Kevin and Daniel, once bitter rivals, found themselves reluctantly united by circumstance. The shared crisis forced them to confront their mistakes, fears, and the heavy price of ambition. Together, they began to envision a path forward, one marked by accountability, transparency, and the hard work of rebuilding. As the dust settled, the company stood at a crossroads. The scars of betrayal and loss remained, but so did the resilience of those committed to change. The journey from darkness to light was far from over, but the first steps had been taken.